Have you ever wondered what it takes to rise from obscurity to become the emperor of a continent? How one man's ambition could redraw the map of Europe and leave a legacy that echoes through centuries? Today, we're diving deep into the extraordinary life of one of history's most brilliant and controversial figures, Napoleon Bonaparte. From his humble beginnings to his legendary battles and ultimate downfall, this is the story of a man who defined an era. So, grab your shako hats, and let's march into the incredible saga of Napoleon. Born Napoleone Bonaparte in 1769 on the island of Corsica, just a year after it became a French territory. Napoleon's origins were modest, not French. He was the second of 8 children in a family of minor Italian nobility. From a young age, he showed a remarkable aptitude for mathematics and a fierce, sometimes solitary, disposition. His father secured him a scholarship to a military academy in mainland France. Here, the young Corsican boy, often teased for his accent and short stature, buried himself in his studies, devouring books on history, strategy, and the great commanders of the past, like Alexander the Great and Julius Caesar. He was laying the intellectual groundwork for his future dominance. The French Revolution in 1789 was the spark that ignited Napoleon's career. The old order was collapsing, and with it, the rigid class structure that had previously barred men of his standing from reaching the highest ranks. The chaos of the revolution was an opportunity. In 1793, at the siege of Toulon, the 24-year-old artillery captain devised a brilliant plan to capture the city from royalist and British forces. His strategy was a stunning success, earning him a promotion to brigadier general. Overnight, Napoleon was a name whispered with awe in the halls of power. He had proven his military genius and his knack for seizing the moment. His star continued its meteoric rise. 2 years later, in 1795, when a royalist mob threatened the revolutionary government in Paris, Napoleon was called upon to defend the capital. Famously, he ordered his men to fire cannons loaded with grapeshot directly into the crowds. It was brutal, effective, and decisive. This whiff of grapeshot, as he later called it, saved the Directory, the new French government, and made Napoleon a national hero. As a reward, he was given command of the French army in Italy. It was here, leading a poorly equipped and demoralized army, that Napoleon truly showcased his legendary leadership. Through a series of lightning-fast campaigns, he outmaneuvered and defeated larger Austrian and Sardinian armies, securing northern Italy for France. He was more than just a general. He was a master of propaganda, writing his own dispatches to Paris, crafting his image as an invincible conqueror. But Napoleon's ambition wasn't limited to Europe. In 1798, he launched an audacious campaign in Egypt. The goal: to disrupt British trade routes to India. While the military expedition was ultimately a failure, his fleet was destroyed by the British Admiral Nelson at the Battle of the Nile. The campaign had a massive cultural impact. It sparked a Western fascination with ancient Egypt, thanks to the scholars he brought with him who discovered treasures like the Rosetta Stone. More importantly for Napoleon, he skillfully managed the narrative. Leaving his trapped army behind, he secretly returned to France, where he was welcomed not as a defeated general, but as a conquering hero. France was in political turmoil, and the people were desperate for a strong leader. Napoleon saw his chance. In November 1799, in a daring move known as the Coup of 18 Brumaire, Napoleon overthrew the Directory. He established a new government, the Consulate, and had himself appointed as first consul. Initially presented as one of 3 leaders, he quickly outmaneuvered the others, effectively becoming the military dictator of France. He was just 30 years old. With his power consolidated, Napoleon embarked on a series of sweeping reforms. He created the Bank of France to stabilize the economy, centralize the government, and established a new system of education. His most enduring achievement was the Napoleonic Code. This civil code streamlined France's confusing legal system, guaranteeing property rights, religious toleration, and equality before the law for all male citizens. While it also rolled back some of the rights women had gained during the Revolution, it was a revolutionary document that influenced legal systems across the world, and many of its principles are still in use today. He was building the foundations of a modern state, but peace was never Napoleon's primary focus. In 1804, in a lavish ceremony at Notre Dame Cathedral, he did something unprecedented. Taking the crown from the Pope's hands, he crowned himself Emperor of France. This symbolic act declared to the world that his power came not from God or tradition, but from himself. As emperor, he embarked on a series of military campaigns known as the Napoleonic Wars. His Grande Armée, a massive and well-trained fighting force, seemed unstoppable. His strategic masterpiece came in 1805 at the Battle of Austerlitz. Facing a larger combined Russian and Austrian army, Napoleon feigned weakness, luring them into a trap. The result was a devastating and decisive victory that cemented his reputation as the greatest military commander of his age. He was the master of Europe. Over the next few years, Napoleon redrew the map of the continent. He dissolved the 1,000-year-old Holy Roman Empire, installed his relatives on the thrones of conquered nations, and dominated nearly all of continental Europe. His only persistent enemy was Great Britain, protected by its powerful Royal Navy. Unable to invade Britain after his navy's defeat at the Battle of Trafalgar, Napoleon tried to cripple them economically with the continental system, a large-scale embargo against British trade. This policy, however, proved to be one of his greatest miscalculations. It backfired, hurting European economies and stoking resentment against French rule. It led to a long and brutal war in Spain, the Spanish Ulcer, which drained French resources and manpower. This was the beginning of the end. The fatal blow came in 1812. Convinced that Russia's Tsar Alexander I had betrayed him by trading with Britain, Napoleon assembled the largest European army ever seen, over 600,000 men, and launched a massive invasion of Russia. This campaign was a catastrophic disaster. The Russians refused to engage in a decisive battle, instead retreating deeper into their vast territory, employing a scorched earth policy that left nothing for the invading army to live on. Napoleon captured a deserted and burning Moscow, but with winter approaching and his supply lines stretched thin, he was forced into a horrifying retreat. The brutal Russian winter, combined with starvation and relentless Cossack raids, decimated the Grande Armée. Of the more than 600,000 men who invaded, fewer than 100,000 made it out. The disaster in Russia shattered the myth of Napoleon's invincibility. Seeing their chance, the other European powers, Britain, Austria, Prussia, and Russia, formed a new coalition against him. Weakened and facing overwhelming odds, Napoleon was defeated at the Battle of Leipzig in 1813, the Battle of Nations. The following year, Allied armies marched into Paris. Napoleon was forced to abdicate, and was exiled to the small Mediterranean island of Elba. The Bourbon monarchy was restored in France. For most men, this would have been the end, but not for Napoleon. In less than a year, he escaped. Landing in France in March 1815, he began a triumphant march to Paris. The troops sent to arrest him instead flocked to his banner, chanting, "Vive l'Empereur!" He reclaimed his throne without firing a single shot, beginning a period known as the 100 Days. The European powers, stunned by his return, quickly mobilized against him once more. The final showdown came on June 18th, 1815, near the village of Waterloo in modern-day Belgium. In one of history's most famous battles, Napoleon's army was decisively defeated by a coalition force led by the Duke of Wellington and the Prussian General Blücher. This time, the Allies took no chances. Napoleon was exiled to St. Helena, a remote and desolate island in the middle of the South Atlantic. He would spend the last 6 years of his life there, dictating his memoirs and crafting the legend that would outlive him. He died in 1821 at the age of 51. So, what is the legacy of Napoleon Bonaparte? Was he a tyrant who plunged Europe into a decade of war, or a visionary leader who modernized France and spread the ideals of the revolution? The truth is, he was both. His ambition led to the deaths of millions, but his legal and administrative reforms had a profound and lasting impact on the world. He was a military genius, a brilliant administrator, a master of propaganda, and an endlessly ambitious man who rose from nothing to conquer a continent. His life is a testament to the power of human will, for better and for worse. The story of Napoleon is a reminder that history is rarely black and white, but is instead painted in shades of gray, much like the man himself. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey through the rise and fall of Napoleon Bonaparte. If you found this story as fascinating as we do, please give this video a thumbs up, and let us know in the comments which historical figure you'd like us to explore next. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you won't miss our next deep dive into history. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.